Welcome back. This is Jesse Ventura's America, where we believe it or not, in the truth. We're talking with Dr. Paul Levinson, who is Chair of Communications and Media Studies at Fordham University. You know, Doctor, we've talked earlier about the media. I have my perspective of it. You certainly study it to a great degree. You have a doctor. You're a doctor.
I make the stuff up.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, then you fit right in with the media.
That's why I'm
no wonder you
them.
can study them. But again, I find it extremely dangerous what they're doing today, because when they interject their opinion in a front-page story, they're leading them. They're being deceptive. Isn't it correct procedure to just simply write the facts and allow the reader to then form their opinion based on the facts? But we're not getting that today.
It was never the case, because first of all...
Then why are we taught that?
Well,
I went to high school journalism. They taught me that. Why do they lie to me then in journalism class? Why do they teach me that the real world, you go out and you write what you want, but here in journalism class, in order to pass and get an A, you got to write what we want you to say?
Well, first of all, universities aren't the real world. We try to present...
This was high school.
I know, but even high school, we try to present the way things should be.
Okay.
But in reality, they're not usually, that way, certainly not entirely. The thing about the media, from the very beginning, whatever a person wrote in a newspaper, an editor decided how much space that story would take up, whether it would go on page 1 or page 40, whether it would be top of the fold, beneath the fold. Walter Cronkite, who so many Americans admired, used to end every newscast saying, and that's the way it was. But that wasn't true either. That was really a lie, as much as I love Walter, because the real truth is that's the way editors at CBS News decided that the American people should think it was. So there's really not much we can do about this, except for really one thing, and that's diversity. As long as we have enough newspapers and enough television stations and enough outlets on the internet and radio and programs such as this and other talk shows, then sooner or later, no matter how much one medium lies, the truth will come out.
But how do you know when?
You don't know beforehand when. I mean, life isn't perfect.
Sure.
I mean, science isn't perfect, too.
Yeah.
I mean, science, once upon a time, everyone thought Newton was absolute truth.
But to equate science to just blatant manipulation, which some of the media does...
That's because...
Now, let me ask this.
Sure.
Why then do they have a separate headline writer? Because sometimes you'll read the headline and be deceived so much by the headline, and then when you get into the story, you go, wait a minute, the story doesn't match the headline. How many people have looked at their paper? I'm getting a lot of nods from the crowd. Why is that?
Because the headline is like the cover of a book. I once had a book, science fiction novel, and the cover had nothing to do with my book. And I asked my editor, what's this?
But shouldn't the news be different?
No, because...
Why should the news fall into every other trap that a novel writer, a fiction writer, or whatever? You're writing fiction.
Right.
The news isn't supposed to be fiction, Doctor.
But the problem is this. For the news to survive, it does operate on money, as you said at the beginning of the show. The only alternative...
But they can take some of the money from Friends.
I know,
they can take some of the money from the other big shows that make huge amounts of money. Give us facts. Give us truth.
Everyone wants that, but would you prefer that the government be the one to decide? Well, then who would do it then? So
they should have the integrity themselves.
Well,
they should have the integrity themselves. Somebody there to say, you know what? We're going to be the one that's not going to be concerned with the bottom line. We're not going to be concerned with making the money. We're going to be concerned with putting the truth out and doing news the way it should be done. Professor, does it bother you that 5 major corporations now really control our entire news?
Actually, I'm very happy about that.
Really?
Yes, because in 1963, the time when John F. Kennedy was killed, there were a total of 3 major television networks. Now there are 5. I wish there were 15, but 5 is still more diverse than 3. And there was no internet in 1963. And
but the internet's about as reliable as I'll get to that. I'll tell you a story about the internet a little bit later.
Well, but the key is that there is still independent reporting on the internet, and it gets back again to people. If Americans want to log on and search for the truth on the internet, they have a vehicle of doing that no one had in any previous time. So that's why I'm not so upset about media conglomeration. And I'm not that upset about the profit motive either, because any other alternative leads to the path of censorship, government control. I don't even like the FCC, whatever its decisions.
I don't even know who they are.
Well, exactly.
No,
that's
I
the problem.
remember when I did radio, you always had the FCC,
right.
this thing up there that you had to mail in all your tapes or hold them in case the FCC wanted to review them. Who are these people? Anyway, thank you, Paul, for joining us today. We'll be right back to talk to the audience. You and you and you.